Hey everybody, it's Kiana, and this is season 2. Y'all, season 2 of She Ventures Out, and I am over the moon excited about the guest that I have in studio today. Now, when I say in studio, she's virtual, I'm virtual, but this conversation is going to be everything you signed up for. Because I keep I told Michelle, like, I feel like she is the best kept secret in Columbus, Ohio. And after this podcast, baby, baby, you all just don't even know what a treat you're in for. So let's get into it. Everybody knows She Ventures Out is all about people who have leaped, right? Wherever you are in life, people who have taken the reins of their career, of their life, of their relationship, and said, I know I'm made for more and I'm ready for more. And today I have in the studio with me Michelle Farley, who is a creative powerhouse. So what I love most about Michelle is that she has done something that little Kiana wanted to do, and she has made writing her career. So yes, y'all, she gets paid to write, and she's doing it in so many forms. So she's an entrepreneur, she's a freelance copywriter, she has a podcast, she writes children's books, and she also just happens to be a mom, a wife, and a full-time employee as well. So yeah, she is juggling all the things and doing it stunningly, as you can see as well. And her work focuses on storytelling, personal growth, and helping others find their authentic voice, which y'all know is near and dear to my heart, which is why, I launched this podcast. So this episode, I intend to focus on how Michelle navigates all of those roles, right? And still maintains her sanity, right? Because that is a lot of things. So while balancing full-time work, creativity, and entrepreneurship, we want to get into it. So Michelle, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. That intro was amazing. I'm like, I'm gonna have to use that somewhere. Like, ooh,
I love it. I
not a
love it.
powerhouse. I was like, oh,
Yes. Yes, all the things, all the things. So, Michelle, as you know, I kind of stumbled upon you because your husband and I used to be on a board together, and he had posted one of your accolades. And we're going to get more into those accolades here in the interview. But when I saw it, and I was like, wait a minute. We have a screenplay, kind of writer award winner right here in Columbus, Ohio, and I didn't know about this. So I needed to know more. I was obsessed. I was fangirling, all of the things. So I really want to start, kind of in the beginning. So what was that pivotal moment where you said, I can do this writing thing that I love. I can do this full time while working a full time job?
that's a good question. So I think, well, prior to this pivotal moment, I think I've always used it as like a nice to do, a nice to have. I think once, my mom passed away in 2018.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And I just remember her saying, like, when I retire, I'm going to do this. I'm going to travel. I'm going to go back to school. I'm going to do all these things, right? And she had only been retired for about not even a year before she passed, right? So for me, it was like, I don't want to bank on doing all this great stuff when I retire from working someone else. Now, don't get me wrong, working is great.
Yes.
Working to earn an income and a living, being a productive citizen, and but you want something for yourself. And I just knew, I'm like, this life is more than me just working a 9 to 5.
Yes.
And that was like, I have to you don't find time, you make the time. And I was like, if this is something that I really have a passion for, I can't think of anything else that I love to do that is a lot of work and I still want to get up every day and do it.
Yes.
And so, I was like, I gotta start not just wishing, but like actually like doing. And so that was, unfortunately, that happens a lot where people pass or someone we know gets sick or ill and they can't do something, and that helps us kind of
have that
regulate
clarity
our own
moment.
Yeah, like our own mortality. Like, I don't have a lot of time.
Right.
Wishing.
Right.
Right.
Yes. Well, thank you for that, because I think that that is such a powerful kind of, like I said, clarity moment. And, one of the things that you alluded to, right, is that you also work a full-time job, right? And so, I know that a lot of our listeners are in that same boat, right? Like they're working, in a job that they love, right? Or, some people are working in a job that they don't love. But our jobs are hard, right? Like these nine to
Yes, ma'am.
fives are very demanding. And so I'd love for you to talk about how, you're getting off at 9 to 5, right? Come home, husband, kid, right? And still are finding time for those creative pursuits. Like, where are you kind of pulling from that additional energy?
That's another great question. And so I feel like most days I am running off of fumes. Like there is, I mean, honestly, there are only so many hours in a day. And my husband and I, we always differ on this because like I am a lover of naps. I believe in like I was like, it just won't, I will live to fight another day, but like some things just can't be done. I do try to preserve like, my 9 to 5. I have flexibility, but like that's my main source of income. So I used to say like I have a 9 to 5 and then a 6 until it's done.
Yes.
And prior to like uh when I was first getting started, like I would really burn the candle at both ends. Now I just focus more on like, what first of all, not taking too many projects where I'm overwhelmed because I am a one woman like
Yes.
one woman show. Uh and just delegating time in the evening. So there's like a certain set of time, like after this 2.5 hours, I move on to something else. Or I may have to like 6 a.m. is normally when I get up, but if there's something else, like I'll get up at 5, but that means I have
Hmm.
to go to bed at 10. So it's
Yes.
just really dividing my time up wisely and then not feeling guilty about taking like creative breaks.
Yes. Well, and you know what? And I think that you probably have freed a lot of people already because the fact I've talked about the Nap Ministry on here before, which is a, Instagram account. But I mean, the fact that you are out here writing screenplays, writing children's books, winning awards, folks, and you still take naps, right?
I
Because
do
one
take
of the
that.
things that we have to start to embrace, right, is rest, right? Right.
For
Rest
sure.
as renewal, rest as refueling. And so the fact that you are able to do those things, so let's get into it. So, I'd love for you to take a moment and tell our listeners, right, like what you do. I alluded to, screenplays, I alluded to children's books, but walk us through, the powerhouse, as I said earlier, that is Michelle. Talk to us about the business.
So yeah, it's a lot of businesses. So
Yeah.
my primary business is a boutique copywriting agency, Sync and Flow. Uh, Primarily, I work with small business and nonprofits to help them find their authentic brand voice, their brand messaging. A lot of times, what I found when I was just starting out is that a lot of people were like, "Hey, Michelle, I need product descriptions," or "Hey, I need." I need some content for my webpage or my landing page. And so they would just give me examples and regurgitate stuff from other people, like from other like sources of like other nonprofits or other businesses. And I'm like, well, this is not it, right? I could take your money and do it, but I was like, this is not going to get you the results that you want. And I think over time, people just really respected my honesty. Like sometimes I'll be
Yes.
like, you know what, I don't think you're ready yet. So take this money and just kind of research like what it is that you actually want to do. And so from there, uh, it went through a couple of name changes, but Sync and Flow is now. So that became like my um, nice income actually. Honest and funny was I worked for a media company. Ooh, these years are going by. But I worked for a media company in like 2012, 2013. And that was my first time ever getting laid off. And I was like, what
Mhm.
is this? Uh,
Mhm.
and I started freelancing and I was making more freelancing than I was working a full-time job.
Yes. Yes.
But then I got nervous because, the life of a freelancer is like you can have like, some really great
Yeah. Ebbs and
months and then
flows.
you can have some very
Yeah.
lean months.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, and not to sound crazy as I want your listeners, but I was fully aware that I was married and that like it wasn't like I was gonna be destitute if I,
Right.
so but that was like my first like real like, oh, I could probably do this full time, right? There's a lot of reasons why I haven't gone full time yet. But that so I'm sorry, I'm all over the place. But that
No,
was the
you're
first,
good.
like
Yeah.
the business. And so and let me know if I'm going over the place,
No,
Kiana.
you're
But
doing great. Like,
so
this is exactly what they want to hear.
so copywriting is a skill that I have. I'm aware that it's a skill that I have and that I'm good at it, right? Because a long time I didn't acknowledge like I'm good at it. I'm actually good at what I do.
Yes,
Copywriting is not
people,
necessarily,
please, people, please, please hear that, right?
yeah,
Because we're all about that on this show, right? Affirming ourselves, and so that is like a key thing to be able to do in this, kind of entrepreneurial journey. So please continue.
yeah. So for me, I think like I think everyone has some type of skill that allows you to like to make a living, and so this copywriting or even the copywriting industry in itself, like I can come up with an idea, I can help ask the right questions to get to like the nuances of your business. I'm good at that. It's not necessarily a passion of mine. Like
Mm,
there's a passion to help people.
mm.
It's not necessarily a passion for like writing web pages all the time or product
Right,
descriptions
right.
all the time. That's not necessarily a passion. And so I knew writing would help me one stay creative and keep the muscle working. But then I was
Yes.
like, okay, now what else? And so that is when I went into like, well, I definitely want my background is for school was from production creative writing. So I was like, I want to get back into like creating things for myself.
Yeah.
And so I started off with the children's book because at the time our son was like one, maybe one or two. Actually, no, I don't even think he was two yet. So while I was pregnant, we were looking for books for the nursery. I was like, what is this thing called? Uh, we were looking for books, and we had some of our staples that we had as kids. It was very important to me that he had books with little black boys in it,
Yes.
and little black girls too. But I wanted some more little black boys. But the more books that we found, there were um, they were like superheroes or
Mhm.
they had a
Mhm.
disability, which is cool. But then I was just like, why can't a little black boy just be happy
Yeah.
with his family
Right.
without it being something like you have to you have to have superpowers or you
Right.
have to have some type of traumatic experience that you
Right.
overcame. I was like, I just want him to be a regular little kid who loves his family, who has like
Yes.
a general regular day.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
that's what
Yes.
everyone wants for their kids, right?
Right.
And so that spun out, and so that created Dudley Magnificent, and it was is really a little boy who has these little everyday experiences with his family, Um,
Now, where can people get Dudley?
so you can get it on my website, dudleymagnificentbooks.com,
Mm,
or it's also on Amazon, so you can get it there or
perfect.
anywhere where,
Perfect.
yeah. Um, and I feel like I'm all over the place. Get
Nope.
where?
No,
Okay.
I'm loving this. And so, like, let's talk about the screenplay.
Okay, so yeah, so screenwriting has always been that's definitely a passion for me. You couldn't tell me when I was in college that I wasn't about to like and actually that's funny. I was gonna move to LA and I was gonna work for a
Yes.
production house and then I was gonna write scripts and then I was gonna like be like this screenwriter, film producer, film director,
Yes.
all the things. And that did not happen.
Yet.
For
Yet. Yet.
for a variety of reasons. So I'm originally from Cleveland, and I was fortunate to have this really great mentor, Lillian Piles, who is a phenomenal casting director. And she had semi-retired and moved back to Cleveland when I met her. So anytime there was a production, actually one of my professors introduced me to her just on a random Tuesday.
Wow.
And she, anytime there was a type of production, she was like, well, you can be my assistant. And so, like, Spider-Man 3 was shot there, and Antoine Fisher.
Michelle.
Um, what was it? it was a lot. It was a lot of movies that came through Cleveland.
Wow.
And
Okay.
so I was able to like get a lot of experience. See how and you know, in casting we're looking for actors and background talent and all that stuff too, but I'm also able to see like, you know, this was the original script and this is how, you know, they
Mm.
changed it and all this other different things. So it was just like getting all this information. And so I was really looking forward to like moving to California, but you know, life be lifing.
Yes. Indeed it
And
does.
so, yeah. And so I was like, I'm gonna give myself a year after college. I'm gonna work a regular job. I was working at an alternative high school. Oh my word. Um,
Shout out to the teachers, because God
Shout
bless
out
y'all.
to them, okay?
Yes.
Because I was working in the office and I was like, this is not my calling. I was like, mm-mm. And I was still doing my side hustles, and anytime there was a production that came through, I worked on that. I actually got an interview to work on a children's, to be a script writer for a children's show in Santa Monica, California. I made it to the third interview. And then after that, I found out I had to have emergency surgery.
Oh,
And so, and I was like, this job is paying for this. And they, you know, things like that, productions like that, they move quickly. They were
yeah.
like, I'm down for 6 weeks. They're like, we got to find someone else,
Yeah.
which I totally get. I heal, still working at this school. We on a year and a half. I get another opportunity. There was like a, what was it? It was working with Nickelodeon and
Okay.
in their it was like a production manager like position. Like you kind of move up and you know, you start off and then you work a year and then they'll place you somewhere within Nickelodeon Studios.
Okay. Okay.
Um Made it to this is where hopefully I'm gonna bring this all together. So this is where like so I make it to like round three. Round three is like I go to Burbank to actually meet with the hiring staff.
Okay.
And so Lillian, who's my mentor, she's giving me a phenomenal like uh I can't
Recommendation.
great with words, and all of a sudden I can't have words today.
That's okay.
Gives you a recommendation, like like I am like, you got this, right? I get there and I'm just like, maybe I don't belong here.
Mm.
Because this, you know, it was very intense. And I'm looking at everyone else thinking like, okay, they have something that I just don't have.
Mm.
Long story short, this interview was horrible. Like I knew before I left. I was
Oh,
like,
yes.
before when I flew back home, before I like landed, like I felt like I didn't get the job. And this is before, I mean, this is early 2000s, so it wasn't like, you know, I had a cell phone, but you wasn't checking emails.
Right.
This flip
Right.
phone,
Right.
Sprint, none of that. By the time I got home, it was like thanks but no thanks. And I
Mm.
think that's when my confidence was just like I had big dreams, but maybe that's just not where I'm supposed to be at. And so um and I just kind of let it sit there for a long time. Even though I did go get my master's also in creative writing with concentration in screenwriting, I figured I could just teach at the college
Oh,
level, which
okay.
I did do for a few years. Um, but then I was just like, no, like I can. This might sound crazy, but like sometimes I will see a film and I'm like, I'm not going to hate on this because they're actually did it. They wrote it, they
Yes.
produced
Yes.
it. I
Yes.
see it on the screen. All my stuff is on a drive somewhere. Like, and that's when I was like, I really got to start taking some type of steps to start creating the types of stories that I want to see. And so I
Yes.
started with the short scripts because I figured it would keep me accountable. I know that the time that I have, I can bam. And short scripts are not easy to write because you have to tell a whole story within like less than like
Right.
15, 20 minutes.
Right.
Whereas other, you know, feature length, you have like an hour and a half, 2 hours to
Right. To
tell a
develop the
complete
story.
story.
Yes,
To
absolutely.
tell a complete story. And so you know, first couple of drafts or first couple of scripts, they were no's. They were no's. I got really great feedback of like why it was a no. Um, and honestly, Kiana, one of the reasons why I felt like I kept getting no's is because I was writing based off of how I was taught to write a script.
Mm.
And I wasn't being authentic to my voice and
Mm.
who the people that I thought would really resonate with it. And then
Mm.
once I started doing that, that is when I started seeing, even if I didn't officially like win, like I wasn't the award winner, I would be like a semi-finalist or a
Okay.
finalist or a top 5, which lets me know like, yes, maybe I didn't actually win the award, but there were 500 people, 1,000 people
Right.
that submitted something, and to be in that to be in that number, um, really
Yes,
says,
it's
okay,
like it's like on the Oscars when they say like it's a privilege to be
to be
nominated, right? Like
nominated.
yes,
It
yes, like
really is. Like when you think about
yes.
like, okay, now you didn't win, but like think how many people who didn't even get an acknowledgement.
Exactly,
So
exactly. So,
yeah.
Michelle, I feel like there are so many nuggets, so many threads I want to pull in what you just shared because, I think it is just so phenomenal. So, first of all, just this idea that, even with the roadblocks, right, that kept, kind of coming into your path, you kept pivoting and, continued to find a way to do this thing that consistently called to you. And I think that that's really profound. And I love the point where you talk about how, you had this talent, right? Like this, copywriting allows you to pay the bills, right? So
Mhm.
that you can continue to invest in the thing that, is, in your heart to do, that's in your soul to do. Because I think a lot of folks who listen to She Ventures Out are in that place, right? Like they have a full time job. They're not in a position to, kind of, chuck the deuces, right? And just be like, I'm out, I'm going to go
Right.
chase this dream. And so being able to hear somebody who's figured out how to balance that, right? To say, this 9 to 5, where I use my talents is what fuels and funds my ability to do this
Mhm.
thing that I'm so passionate about. I think that that's really powerful for folks. And then the other thing that I love in what you said is, that thing of, you know, like leveraging relationships, right? So, having is Lillian, right?
Mhm.
Having
Yeah.
Lillian, kind of be that conduit to connect you to different things. Nickelodeon, right? Like it's a big deal, like all of those types of things. So, I think those are really powerful moments for our listeners to hear. So, one of the things that I've talked about is this idea of balance, right? So, you have a lot of balls that you're juggling. So, talk to us about how you are figuring out how to find that balance.
Well, I don't think balance exists, right?
Okay.
Something has to go. Like something just won't get done. This is an argument a lot in our house. Like my husband is very like type A. I'm like, I don't know, was it B, C? I don't know what the other types are. But and it works. And our kid's gonna be a well-balanced kid. Because I'm like, some things just can't, it's just some things can't get done. I think I said earlier, like you live to fight another day.
Yeah. So, how do you make those choices of things that you're going to put to the side?
Yeah, I mean, so this is gonna sound really bad. I am not. I don't know. I organize my thoughts and time and organize. It's like organized chaos, right? I know. I know what has to get done. There's like non-negotiables, and then there are some things that I can just kind of move around, right?
Hmm.
So I would say like if someone is thinking about writing a children's book, right? A typical children's book could be anywhere from like maybe 30, 40 pages if you have like illustrations and things like that. If you commit yourself to writing, okay, I'm gonna write 1 to 2 pages a night. This is my time. I'm gonna use 1 hour. If I only get 3 words, whatever it is, this is it, right? And I'm gonna give myself 30 days or 60 days. In that 60 days, I'll have my first draft.
Okay.
Now, in that hour, that might be an hour where like, you know what? And this happens a lot in my house. Uh, I cook dinner most of the time, but because I had work, I got to get my dedicated hour. Y'all gonna eat, but it's gonna come from somewhere from DoorDash, right? Like
Yes. Yeah.
something has to give in order for me to be able to do what I want to do. I mean, it was a struggle in this house for a while, but I was like, if I'm making sure everyone else is happy in this house, that's my husband, that's my kid. the least you can do is give me an hour.
Yeah.
The least I can do for myself is allow myself to have an hour
Yeah.
and not worry about the laundry until Saturday, or
Yeah.
not worry about vacuuming or until something else. You know what I'm saying? Like, in the grand scheme of things, it's not, it, for me, in the grand scheme of things, vacuuming is not a big deal.
Yeah.
Like, it needs to get done, but it's not right. If I have a creative idea or a creative spark, that something can fade, right?
Yes.
Vacuuming is not gonna do that for me. Like, we can wait one more day. Like, it's not. It's that's just the way that my mind operates.
I think this is such a powerful point, right? Because I have tried those things where you have an idea and you just like put it in your notes app real quick and you're like, I'm going to come back to that.
Yeah,
And you are so right, right? Like the energy that I had when I put it in the notes app, when I come back to it 3, 4, 5 hours
yeah,
later, like it doesn't exist in the same way.
yeah, yeah. Because it has to get, and that's why you have. I, I think the disservice that I've done to myself is to have an idea or I have a thought. At least you put it in a notes app. I'm trying to like or I write it on a sticky note or some craziness, and then it to your point, it doesn't have that same like power that it had when I initially did it. So then, instead of like expounding on it or just, taking time to really focus on that, I'll set it to the side. And
Hmm.
then, I know this ever happened to you, but then I'll see someone else who had a very similar idea launch it, and I'm sitting here looking real real disappointed or looking
Yes.
real confused, right? Because, and
Yes.
I don't know, like, all your listeners like religious backgrounds and stuff too, but I feel like God doesn't just give one person the same
For
idea. Right?
sure.
It could be it could be a slightly different based off of the person, but like, and it's just so crazy because it's like he knows like everybody's not gonna act, right? It's gonna be that one
Yes.
person that acts, and the other people
Exactly.
are looking like,
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly. Well, for sure, right? Because God, the universe, however you think about it, wants this thing to come to fruition,
for sure,
right?
right,
And to your point, it's who's going to seize it to bring it to fruition,
for sure,
right?
for sure.
And I gave it to you, Michelle, first. I gave it to you, Kiana, first. Y'all sat on it.
You sat on
Now
it.
I got
So
to
the
give it
next
to
person was
Bob because
like,
I want this
bet,
thing.
God. It was like, bet, bet, bet. I got you. Let me do this thing, right?
Right.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, so I love that because this idea of setting aside time and being, staunch in the fact that, this is the time, but then also having that milestone. So in 30 days, I want to have a draft done. And, setting those types of, kind of goals and promises to yourself, because I
Yeah.
love how you talked about, I did a disservice to myself, right? Because at the end of the day, right, this is our space. We control it, right? Like we decide the yays or the nays.
For
And so
sure.
it sounds like you have, just really own that to say, if I want this thing to happen, not only, am I all in, but I'm also going to make sure that everyone around me understands this is what it looks like for them to have to be all in as well.
Right. And to also, like, everyone who is a creative may not be with someone who's a creative,
Right.
right? So there's nothing wrong working a 9 to 5, having a career, you know, having a set schedule, sitting in an office. My husband, that's his thing. Like, when we were all like in the pandemic, I love working from home. I was still working for state government at the time. So I was having every day I woke up with joy in my heart. Okay. like I was ecstatic. My husband was dying. He was like, I need an
Mhm.
office. I need a dedicated
Mhm.
space. Like, I can't function. I'm like, this is amazing. Okay. Like, set me up
Exactly.
anywhere. I'm good to go. And then eventually I was able to find a place, or I was like, while we were on this pandemic, whatever whatever this
Yeah.
that was, that seemed so long ago. Um, my prayer was like, Lord, like, the freelance stuff is cool. I would love to find a position that I could write, that I love, that I could help people, that I could work from home, so I could have a flexible schedule with my son, because that was very important to me. And this is another time for another topic for another time, but it was very important to me to be present My
Mm.
mom was, she had a lot of jobs, a lot of stuff. I was a little adult by the time I was 9. And so like I grew up, but I don't necessarily have a childhood. So it was very important to
Yeah.
me that he like still has like this time to be a kid.
Yes.
So I was able to find a job at a nonprofit as a staff writer, work from home, or actually work from anywhere. Uh, and so, yeah, I was just thriving in that. But when you are with someone who is not a creative, like I can respect how they need some type of structure. Like you
For
need a
sure.
building and you need to drive somewhere. Like I don't want to commute. Like I don't want to. I don't want to by coming up to my cubicle talking about the cheese balls or the potlucks. Like I don't want any of that. I love people, but like that to
Yes.
me, because if I'm in the midst of like writing an article and then you come up to me talking about some randomness or this idea of paying $100 something a month to park for me to go to work is
Yes.
insane.
Yes. Well, and, in those environments, right, like you generally have to always be on. And sometimes when you
Mhm.
are in creative mode, right, like that does require you to retreat, right? And those environments don't always, they're just not always conducive for retreating. So
Exactly.
absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
It is, and especially when that was another story for another time. But state government, which is a very interesting place, and
Yes.
yeah, it was a very interesting place. The
Yes.
people were cool, so I don't want because if they see this and be like Michelle, I was like, I love y'all. I just
Right.
I don't want to talk to you all the time. That's all.
Right, right.
That's all.
So one
That's
of
all
the
I'm
things
saying.
that I think I know for sure, as a creative, as a writer, you can speak to is, kind of rejection, right? Like getting the no's. And
Hmm.
so, we talk about that, and how sometimes those things either kind of paralyze people or they stop them in their tracks. So how have you kind of grown accustomed to, dealing with that.
Rejection, like
Yes.
rejection. I mean, so not gonna lie, like when you're starting anything new and you're nervous about already being in that space to get rejected or get the no's, it definitely it is not cool. I think it's just a no, it's trash, or is it no, these are some things that you could tweak on. And
Mm,
so I would say like once I got confident again, start writing from the heart, writing from my place of like genius. um when I did receive a no, like I would receive feedback, and the feedback to me was like, okay, I can work with this, like that makes sense. And then sometimes I'm like, I respectfully disagree, like 'cause sometimes you're not going to get something that because you just it doesn't work for you. But I think even if you get the no, it doesn't mean that it's not a great idea. It doesn't mean that it's not worth pursuing. There could be like right now I'm working on like a collection of short stories. So the first short story I sent to a peer group of mine. So and people of different ages, all women, because it's gonna be towards women. So I got people all over, like different perspectives, all because I'm like, I want to,
now, is this a writing peer group or is this like just a collective of people you
a
know?
collective of people, because this will be the people that right. Because if I send
Okay.
it to another, that's another thing. Because you send it to a whole bunch of writers and editors, like I have that friend group too. This is usually
Okay.
when I'm finished with something, like I have a friend who's an amazing editor. She's also in Columbus. Uh she'll go through that for me, or if there's a gap in the story and I can feel that there's a gap, I'll ask another writer to be like, how do you feel about this? But this one I was pretty confident in the way that it was written, but I wanted to know how it would resonate with the people who would ultimately buy it. Or
Okay.
not necessarily my friends, but these are the people who I'm thinking of when I'm writing this.
Okay.
And so, everyone had the census was like, I loved it. Here's some things that like I have questions about. Da, 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 da. And I'm also like, this is a short story. You want a whole novel. This is not
Right,
this is not
right.
it. But it was good. It was good information. And I think you can take any rejection and just find the information from it.
Yes.
Like what's okay, like if I submit a script, like there was a short script that I submitted. Like everyone was saying no to it. And I was just like, what? And actually, it wasn't a short. It was a pilot for a television show, and I was like, I don't understand why. Like,
Mm,
what am I doing? I was like, I find this funny. This is very funny. And then you read it so long that you're like, well,
yes.
maybe it's not. And then I had some television script readers to read it, and then I got back more positive feedback. But when you have a reader, like, you don't know if it's a male or female, you don't know the race of the individual, but sometimes the way people respond, you can pick up on like who they are.
Right.
And so I felt like the people who could resonate with me more, they really enjoyed it and gave me some feedback that I could actually use to do it. Now here's the part that maybe this will be another time, Kiana. But the pilot that I wrote, I saw a very similar
Oh,
pilot on a streaming service. I'm not gonna say which one.
yes.
It's a like almost, I want to say lower budget, not lower quality, because I don't want to.
Okay.
Sometimes like
Okay.
it's like whatever, and I was like I feel like that's sometimes like
Yes.
when you share your stuff, like
Yes.
there's that possibility of it, or again, someone else could have had the idea that I had, and they tweaked it better, and they positioned themselves better to have it up there, but it was very similar. It's like that's very similar.
Well, see, and so many things there too, because I love this idea of kind of deciphering through the feedback, right? Because every feedback isn't feedback that should stick. Like in one of
Mhm.
my books, I, talk about take the meat and throw away the bones, right? Like
That's right.
every piece of feedback, that we kind of start to internalize is not meant for us to internalize. And so I love how
That's good.
you
Mhm.
kind of have this practice of going to people based on what you need, right? So, this group I'm going to because they're the target audience for the story, and I'm looking for specific things from them. If I was looking for an editing group or if I was looking for a writing group, I would go this way, right? And I think that, we have to be more discerning about, when we ask for feedback, like truly understanding what we want for people, but also one of the things that you talked about was I knew that the story was good, right? So,
Yeah,
we need to go in things not looking for validation,
that's
right? Like already knowing that the thing that we wrote is good, or already knowing that we're a great copywriter, or already knowing whatever, right? But having, very specific places where we need feedback, because I think a lot of times if we don't have that, right, we allow people to chip away at our very person, right? When, like you said earlier, right, like they're not even an authority to be able to give us the feedback that we've allowed them to chip away at. And so I love how you constructed that. This is what I need you to weigh in on.
yeah, 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 yeah. This is what I need you to do. Yeah.
Yes.
And also being willing to accept the feedback too, and not, knowing like what is the intention of the person that's giving you the feedback, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially someone that I know, but also being willing to grow. So like as a screenwriter, like sometimes I see some films and I'm like, I don't understand
Mhm.
how this got made, but it's not for me. But also there's some other part of me that's like, but they did it though. They
Right.
and people watch, like, I don't know if you ever saw Sharknado. I was like, they had
No.
Shark Girl. It's Google it when you have time.
Okay. Okay.
I was like, every time, and this is for your listeners. If you are a person who wants to write, if you're a person who wants to write scripts, I want you to think about somebody wrote Sharknado 1, 2, and 3 and was able to get that produced and put on screen because and it's just, I mean, and it's not to put them down, but it's just to say, like, if you have the right script and the right people,
Yes.
you can make it
Yes.
happen. And that is like, like even with this last like competition that I was in Pittsburgh in, yeah, November, like I came in this one particular one, I came in third. Did I come in third? No, I came in fourth. I came in fourth. And it's so crazy because the audience was like, we think that this was great. He's like, I'm not sure how you came in fourth. And I'm like, I'm just happy to be here. But it was the audience that really resonated was like, you really need to get this made. Right.
Mm.
So all this time, Kiana, like I've been putting myself in competitions and have gotten so far. And yes, I've won some awards. And then that was just kind of it. Originally, my goal was like, okay, I want to submit these short scripts. There's going to be a producer or someone who really wants to take this on. And these like industry meetings are cool, but people are like, oh my goodness, Michelle, like I love this. Let's set up a meeting, da da da, and like nothing comes of it. It could have been good intentions, but like nothing's come of it. And I was telling my husband, I was like, I think that this is the year of me just like making making the film. Like currently I'm working on this
Yeah.
documentary, which is very expensive. Which that's another time for it's a lot of money. But I was like, I think I'm just gonna do it. I think
Yes.
like I think our stories are the idea of like, you write a script and then you get a producer and then you get an agent and then they make it. And I was just like, you know what, why can't I make it? Right. I'm gonna
Yes.
have to be very succinct in the story, right?
Yeah.
It's not gonna be a lot of locations.
Yeah.
Right. But it's gonna be like it has to be the words that moves the story. Because I
Yeah.
don't have anything else, besides like, hope and a prayer, right? But I have a community of people. I know a DP, I know a sound person, I know this incredible actress that I met when I was just in Pittsburgh. Right. So like so I'm all over the place, but
No, this is so good.
so for me, it's like, what is it that I want? Do I want to create the
Yes.
art and share the art, or am I fixated on this whole thing of like what Hollywood is, right? Like, do I
Yes.
want to like, because is that the goal? And I don't think that's the goal for me. I think the
Mm.
goal for me is to create something that resonates with people, that lives on way after I'm gone,
Yeah.
that can like, whether it made you laugh or cry or have a conversation, like that's what I'm doing it for.
Yes.
Because, um, you know, like the idea of like when I was like 20, it was like, oh, I'm gonna be this famous producer and all this other stuff.
Mhm.
But I'm like, fame comes with stuff.
For sure.
And I don't know, not saying I'm against it at all, but you don't know what that like. I like going to Target and nobody knows what it's like. You know what I'm saying? I like living a reclusive life. Like I like people
Yes.
not, I got family don't even know where I live. Like I
Well,
don't,
yes. No, I think this is such an important point. And I think I talked about it a few episodes ago, right? I was having this conversation with my son Miles, who is, a videographer on the side. And, we were talking, so he does a lot of music videos for his friends who are, like all like aspiring, either influencers or rappers or whatever. And we were talking about, because he was asking me about how the podcast was going. And I said, I think it's going well. I need to get, some viral moments on my social media or whatever. And I said, I got to figure out how to do that. And he was like, Mom, you just got to just put the stuff out there that you want to put out there. He was like, and people will find you. He was
yeah.
like, because he was talking about how, he had a YouTube channel at one point and he had all these great videos up and he kept trying to like put his link into all these different places and then YouTube shutting down.
Mm,
And so so he was like, that was me chasing likes. That was me chasing, like, this viral moment. He was like, and I know that, people are going to find me. And then like maybe a few weeks after he said that, I saw this post from Tyler, the creator, where he was essentially saying the same thing. He was talking about how one of his albums, maybe it was like his first album, just went platinum. He was like, you just
mhm.
got to make the art that you want to make and know that, people will find it who need to find it. Yeah.
For sure, for sure. I don't know
Yeah.
if that's like, what is it, like the 10,000 hours
Hmm.
or whatever, that you really just put in the work and do this.
Yeah.
Even with freelancing, like I had made a post a couple of days ago. I was like, there was a while I was overwhelmed with social media that I just stopped. Business was still there. I just didn't promote it. Like
Yeah.
anytime that I had like a short-term contract or a retainer, it was like through word of mouth. And that was just based off of like my word and the work that I did. And so I was like, I don't like, to your son's point, like I'm not chasing followers. I'm not chasing
Hmm.
all these people. Um I don't proclaim to be an expert. You know, like all this, like, I'm the guru on copywriting
Right.
on social media. I'm just gonna be myself, and do the work. And then your people, or the people who need you, they will find
Yes.
you. And that's,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So just a few more questions. So Michelle, to your point about, like not chasing fame, not chasing awards, all those types of things. But I have to imagine that, once you kind of took the plunge and started, submitting, right, like winning those awards was in some ways fuel, right? Like it was
Yeah.
that, affirmation. So talk a little bit about that.
Sure. So I think the first one um was, I don't even know if it was a award, but well, so Essence Film Festival, like I was my short script was selected to be in the film festival.
Oh,
And so that came with like a table read with like live actors and a live audience. And the experience was amazing. It was like amazing. It was absolutely amazing. And just to see people, like just to see like people that you see on TV, and they're like walking down the hall. You see Shirley Ralph, you see Quincy. Like you're like, what is this? Is amazing.
Right.
When I thought I wanted to be a social media influencer, one of my mentors was, I don't even know who that chick Angel is.
No.
Okay, but she's a social media influencer. She's an actress,
Okay.
comedian. She does all the things. We heard One Margarita.
Yes.
Yes, her. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
So she was my mentor, and just trying to show me like how to leverage what I do and with my social media platform, this and the other, and finding my voice. So she was at the festival. She was at the festival because her friend Breacher Webb was there. I got to meet
Yes.
Breacher Webb. I mean, it
Oh,
was just a really great
wow.
experience. It was
Wow.
literally
Yes.
like, again, just being myself, because I was absolutely nervous, right? So I met her. I met Breacher Webb. Another lady was there who was interviewing some of the directors in their films. So like the larger films they got more playtime, of course. But she so random. She was like, "Hey, I know you don't know me. Can you hold my phone and record me recording speaking in it?"
Oh,
I said, "Sure."
wow.
She said, "Awesome." After that, she's like, "Come with me." She had on different paths. We were walking around. She's introducing me to people. She's inviting me to industry parties.
Amazing.
It was just a really great it was a great experience. It was people like not wanting anything from anyone. Um Very friendly. Like it was a really, I think that was the first time that I actually won something that I went to, and it was a sea of black people who were
Yes.
like kind and loving. It was a great experience. And when I was like when I didn't have my table read, I was going to others to hear theirs, and I was like, oh wow, they're amazing. Like they're amazing. And for a brief second, I was like, oh, I don't know if I should be here. And I'm like, no, wait,
Mm,
but I'm here. Like I'm already here. Like
exactly.
it's already happening.
Exactly. Yes.
And so that is, I mean, it is a boost of confidence. When I came back, I was like, okay, this is definitely what I want to do, right?
I
But
love
also
that.
recognizing too, like I'm over 40. I have a husband and a kid. I can't pack up and move to LA. Like I can't pack up and move nowhere unless it's somewhere in this here Columbus area.
Unless it's that multi-million dollar contract that's coming.
Well, then yes, yes, because my husband would gladly be like, and we are out, and we are gone. Uh, so yeah, just being able to be creative and still, from Columbus, from Ohio,
Yes,
and creative.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, absolutely. So, one last thing. So, you talked about how being authentic, right, allowed you to start to write in a different way. So, if you were to offer, a piece of advice, right, to our listeners who are on the fence, who have this kind of passion burning inside of them, they're not sure, like, where to begin, what would you have them walk away with?
So depending on what they want to write about, right? If
Hmm.
it's a story about themselves, no one knows you better than yourself. I think the first thing is just to get the words out. It doesn't matter if it's coherent, if the story is making sense. You can always move things around. But I think, one, you should know that you have a story worth telling, that there's gonna be an audience that wants to read your words, to experience what you, or to um, they're gonna resonate what you're writing. You're gonna find your, I want to say you found your followers, but you're gonna find your community of people
Yeah.
that want that. And don't don't fail before you start. Like, don't get so
Mm.
focused on like, um, I'm too old, or I don't have money for this, or how am I going to publish it? Like, the first thing is just to get it done. Like, that's like the main thing. And don't think that, like, I remember you and I talked about this a couple days ago when I was saying, like, sometimes I felt like I missed my opportunity. Like, sometimes I wish like I had done this when I was in my 20s, when I didn't have as many responsibilities. But honestly, I don't even think I will be able to handle the stuff that, because in my
Mhm.
20s, I mean, I was responsible but reckless. I mean, not in a bad way,
No,
but
I get it. Yeah, you were 20.
I was 20, right, right, right.
Exactly.
But or even in my early 20s, and so,
Yes.
but so much life has happened
Yeah.
since that time to being 43, that like the stories that I write, I couldn't have written those in my 20s because I
Yeah.
hadn't had the experience.
Yes.
And so even when I'm thinking about like, oh, I've wasted time, or maybe this is, maybe it's too late, I think the time for the stories, the things that I want to create, it couldn't be possible if I wasn't in this space right now. So for
Yes.
any of your listeners who are in the same boat, like anything that you've experienced then till now, like all of that leads up to your story. So whether that's a children's book that you want to write, maybe it's like, you know, like I know we gotta go.
No, you're
But
good.
like even with the children's book for myself, like it was to me to rewrite history of my own childhood, and I was able
Mhm.
to do that through this.
Mhm.
Like any kind of story that I write, it's a way for me to, you can't change the past, but you can create something in the future. So like
Yes.
some of the scripts that I wrote about a grandmother and a granddaughter's relationship. Well, my grandparents, both my grandmothers passed away like 2 months apart when I was 12. So now I'm writing stories of like, this is what it would have been like
Yeah.
had, well, not some of it's in this, but this is also fictional stuff. But like,
Right, right.
I'm able to pull from that to create something new, right? I'm able to take something that might have been hurtful and transform it into something that's more fun and lighthearted in this way
Absolutely.
too. So
Absolutely. That's why I was telling somebody about, this novel that, I'm going to finish. I said,
yes, you are.
I'm writing the great love story, and in some ways I'm writing the love story that I want to have, right? Like, so
Yes.
to your point, like, and I couldn't come up with some of the things had I not had those experiences that I had. Now, at the time, I was like, Jesus save me. But to your point, right? Like now it's content. It's content for my book.
Right, right,
Yes,
right,
yes.
right. And it's yours. Like, it doesn't sound like
Exactly.
everyone else. It doesn't sound like
Exactly.
everyone else's. And that is, and it doesn't have to be overly dramatic or over
Right.
crazy, but like, there's so many regular people in the world
Girl.
who just want to be seen and heard,
Yes.
and not all this other like, it's just this spectrum of like, it's either not enough or it's way too much. But
Exactly.
like, ain't nothing wrong being regular. Regular stuff.
Exactly. 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 Okay, so Michelle, before you get out of here, we are trying
Okay.
something new this season.
Okay.
So, it is the She Ventures Out 20 Questions Rapid
Oof.
Fire Edition.
Rapid fire. Okay.
That's right. So, I'm gonna start off easy, right? So,
They
your
hard? Okay.
your
Oh, okay.
basketball goat.
LeBron James. I gotta go
I
Cleveland.
knew you were gonna say that.
Yeah.
Okay, if your life were a movie, what would the title be?
Ooh. Um. Oh my gosh. I don't know. Oh, I don't like that.
Okay, we can come back to it. We can
Come
come
back to
back
that
to it.
one. Okay.
Okay, your go-to karaoke song.
I will survive.
Okay, if you could swap lives with a fictional character for a day, who would it be?
Fictional character for a day. A fictional character. I don't even know who I would want to be. I'm like, what do I want to be? Fictional character. Uh. Oh my gosh. I want to be like a superhero, but I'm trying to think of like a. Oh.
Is it Storm?
I was gonna say Storm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's one thing that makes you feel unstoppable?
Um, creating, anything
Mm.
creating something. Yeah.
What's your guilty pleasure snack during late night sessions?
My son's Cheetos.
Biggest oops moment that ended up being a blessing in disguise.
Biggest oops moment. That's not a rapid fire question, Kiana.
I feel like you've told us some.
Biggest oops. You said biggest oops. I'm thinking like, that's not an oops. I almost died. I got into a car accident. Flipped off the road. And what I was worried about wasn't in the grand scheme of things. Like it just kind of helped me put things in perspective. Again, in my 20s, going
Okay.
somewhere I shouldn't have been going. So yeah.
Sounds like me on the way to Freaknik. What's one thing you believed at 20 that you laugh at now?
That love was enough.
Okay. You can only pack 3 things for a surprise adventure. What's in your bag?
3 things: a candle, a good pair of walking shoes, and my laptop.
Okay. If you had to give a TED Talk with no prep, what topic could you crush?
Girl, these are not rapid fire questions. What would I was like, this cannot. TED Talk, no prep. Copywriting will be establishing your brand message in 5 steps.
Oh, I love that. Coffee, tea, or something stronger?
Depends on the day and the week. For the most part, it's tea. Tea is my, yeah.
Same. Okay. If failure wasn't possible, what's the first thing you do tomorrow?
I would make my short film.
What's the best compliment you've ever received?
Oh goodness. You remind me of your grandmother.
Love that. Who would play you in a Netflix series about your life?
What? What?
Girl, you don't just sit at home and think about these things.
Girl, I was like, I need these questions in advance. Oh my goodness. Goodness. And I see her face and I don't know her name. She was just in the piano lesson. She was in Emmett. Dang it.
Our listeners know who you're talking about. Yep.
Okay.
Okay, last one. I know it wasn't 20, but last one, since these are a little harder.
Yeah. We should go start off easy. I was like, what?
How would you define success in one word?
Peaceful.
I was thinking peace as well. Michelle, how can people find you?
So you can find me on the gram at Michelle Elaine 2.0 or Michelle Farley Writes, both on Instagram. The same on Facebook. It's the same name on Facebook. Or you can check out my website. There's michellefarleywrites.com, and then there's syncandflow.net.
Awesome. And LinkedIn too, right?
And LinkedIn, yes.
Awesome.
Michelle Farley.
Michelle, this has been everything that I hoped it would be and more. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us, Michelle. Everybody, this is the episode. As always, you can find us on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. Make sure that you follow us, share, and join us next time.
Boxland Media. Think big.